Good afternoon. So, yeah, I'm taking a day. So, it's my thing like, ooh, I got a hold my old, it's like my favorite old jacket I like to wear all the time. I don't wear this thing. I'm going to get a new one. Didn't even notice that. I'm like, what is that? But let's talk. So I just want to kind of talk about Ready to Love. Let me make sure I write this down because I feel like I'm gonna get confused when I get into this conversation. I put Ready to Love, um, Pop the Balloon, Tabitha Brown, and something else I wanted to talk about. Oh, overworking black women. That's what it is. I talk from black women perspective. No disrespect to the black man. I just don't. I'm not a black man, so I can't talk from your perspective. Okay. So I just wanted to talk to the girlies today, like something different. Usually I have really kind of spiritual, heavy conversations to get y'all prepared and work you guys through the global shift. But I also want to remind you that you should just live life and still you're here to have an earthly experience. Let's talk about some things that the collective is on right now and things that are happening in our society. But more light things, okay? Because you're supposed to. I'm supposed to also remind you to keep living life. So anyway, Ready to Love. So Ready to Love is a show that I really like. I've been watching it since season maybe two. I know everybody loves Love Island. I don't watch TV honestly, but I do watch Ready to Love still when it comes on. I like the concept. I like what they have going on. I like. Sorry, I just got a text. I like everything they're doing. Honestly. And then sometimes they have good seasons, sometimes they have bad seasons. Sometimes they have a good selection of people. Sometimes it's a horrible selection of people. I believe I like love shows because I believe they were supposed to be like together, like coupled up, those type of things. So I just think that is how we supposed to be in life, right? So I just kind of wanted to talk about that just a little bit. Hey, how you guys doing? This is gonna be a random conversation. Trying to keep the mood light today. So Ready to Love. First, let's get into this season because um I just think one, the women got a bad deal with the guy that I don't remember his name. I think his name is Cisco. Like, why would you put him on a dating show? Now he's a good looking man. Absolutely, I don't know him for that, but for him to be such going through such a huge life transition, I think he should not be on a dating show to be a potential for dating. I think that was a injustice to women. Okay. Especially when you're spending time away from what you normally do from work and stuff to be on a show. So at minimum, get candidates that have, the basics. The basics are a job, a car, a place to live. This man does not have any of those. Now, I am not knocking him because all of us go through life transitions. I'm not knocking that at all. Um, so I think we have to make sure that we are, not judging him for that. But I just think he shouldn't have been on the show. Like, I really think he should not have been on the show. Like, I just think that is just so. We're already in a society that is very hard to date because very hard to like connect with people because of all the media, social media, and all the things. But to get on a show that you purposely are trying to find your match and then you get on there and it's a person that absolutely should not be dating, and we're not talking about a show that has like 20, 30 years old on. These are people who are in their 40s and 50s. So to me, he should not have ever been on the show. That should just have been a automatic not right now. Once you go through this life transition, we'll like to invite you to next season, all those things. So I think that really should have been happening. I don't know what's going on with the producers from this season and why they did that. Maybe they put it on there to kind of like, do the shock thing and, get people talking on social media about him being on the show and not having a job, and should a man have love during this, transition season. I think at that point, that's when the man need to have his friends, his support system, his family really support him. Now, of course, if he had a woman that they were dating when he was fully employed and so forth, and he, hit a spot, that's different, right? But to be on a show actively looking for love, I don't know. And I don't know who's going to connect on this season. I mean, the couples are definitely the one guy, I can't remember his name, but he is like so indecisive. He has like three, it's almost the end of the show. He has three potential mates right now still, and he has not made a decision or even narrowed it down. So I don't know what his thing is, or if he even knows what he likes. I think that is a difficult thing too. I think you should like really figure out like if you have alignment with a person, or kind of like who you would want to date. It's just certain things you should know at a certain age. Like, I'm not gonna do a cigarette smoker. You can't have a bunch of kids. Just basics. You should know, like, okay, if you're too, some people are more have more energy than others. You may be like, I want more of a person that's a little bit more laid back than a person that has a lot of energy. You should just know certain characteristics. I don't know what the holdup is with the one guy that is having the issues. Let me look up the cast so I can properly say their name and stuff. I'm not again, we're doing something different. I'm not usually talking about these type of subjects. Ready to Love's current season cast. Let me make sure I say their names properly. I'm gonna look them up on my PC real quick. Let's see. Is this it? Okay, here we go. Oh, they pull up the cast quickly. Okay, yep. His name is Cameron. So the firefighter. He is definitely, I think he's definitely doing the process, right? So to me, he's doing the process of going through, seeing who he wants to date. I think he's living that process. But at a certain time, the show is short. And if you've ever been like in production and seen how TV shows are made, it's very, made up too. But it's still, I like the show, right? So, but you're coming in there to really find love. So you should kind of already have an idea of who you're looking for. So he should have been starting to eliminate people, to me, by now. At least get it down to like two, because sometimes people still be at those last two and they be pretty close, but he don't seem like he's really connected to anybody heavily. So I think that's why he's so indecisive. I think it's because no one person has really pulled him all the way in. So I think that is more of his issue, or unless he's just more of a playboy, so he maybe has not had, I don't know, like a long-term relationship. So I don't know what that may be. Mr. Nine says, so shouldn't give people a chance, only set boundaries. No, I think you should give people chances. But I mean, we're talking about a show that you're coming on to find serious love connections. Francisco should have never been on the show. You cannot date a person for, like, I'm talking about freshly date. When I'm talking about a person, we're talking about freshly date a person that is going through a serious life transition. He needs to get through that life transition first. I'm sorry, he should have never been on the show. I think they did that for the conversation to happen, for it to be a shock value, for, whatever it was, they decided to put him on air. I don't think that should have been the case, just being honest. And then I don't know if we're gonna have any real connections. I know that Kiera and John Jay looks like they're gonna connect. And they're doing pretty well. I think she got a little sensitive, there, and I think they're working through it, and his family seems to like her. So I think she's definitely feeling John Jay. I'm hoping that they make it. But I don't know what's gonna happen with Cameron. And then Francisco, yes, Mr. Nine, you hear what I'm saying? He needs time to himself. He finds himself before he looks for someone else. Yes, he needs to really go through that transition through his support system. It should be his family, his boys, his female friends if he has any. Like that needs to be his support system through his life transition right now. But going on a dating show, I think his focus is wrong. Like it's kind of like I don't even like talking to people. My money ain't right. I'm just gonna be honest. I like my money got to be right before I even think about engaging with other folks. So that's just me though. If I want to focus on what I got to get done. You know what I'm saying? So then I could come deal with you. Like casual deal with you. Now, if I have a mate, of course we're going through it together. But I'm talking about the casual stuff because this is the first time they're meeting this man, right? So that's my take on Ready to Love this season. How you guys like Ready to Love? Are y'all liking this season? Do y'all watch it? Have y'all really paid attention to it? What are you thinking? I think Takesha, who's the one that's really locked in on Cisco, I think she's 30. It says she's 35. I thought she was maybe a little bit younger. And that's why she is like kind of locked in on him. I think it's very interesting that she's setting herself up to possibly date a guy that is going through such a major transition. That is kind of interesting. You don't want to find yourself in a situation, and she's young. Everybody's beautiful. All the men are handsome. And she's very young, and she's like putting herself in a situation that I don't know. Like, yeah. Yeah, I don't know if he just, and maybe he's trying to get, he might get a brand deal because he's a muscular guy. He's handsome. So hopefully he'll get like employed out of being on the show. I'm pretty sure somebody could like hire him for a brand, for example, Mr. Nye. What you think? So he may get employed from being on the show. Like that might have been his thing. He really wasn't looking for love. He's like, let me get my name out there and become this person and get that thing. So the season's almost ended. We'll see how it turns out. I can't wait to see the reunion because I want to see who actually stick together. Maybe somebody will connect after the show. Sometimes that happens. Like the people that were on the show, they really didn't get the time to spend together, and they'll kind of conversate after the fact. So maybe that'll happen this season. So hopefully we'll get some surprise hookups and some surprise couples out of this season. But I love Ready to Love. I think I just love. And I think we're here, we're human. We're supposed to like have connection and support and community, whether if you have a mate or not. Okay. So that's just the person I am. Okay, so let's move on to Pop the Balloon. Now, Pop the Balloon, I didn't like it at first. I'm just gonna be honest. I was not a Pop the Balloon person because now everybody knows the Arlette one. They are the ones that made it go viral and made like all the other shows really come out after them and stuff. But it was a Pop the Balloon. The first one I seen was actually based in Africa, one of the countries in Africa, and it was very degrading though. Like I caught it, and it wasn't called Pop the Balloon. It was called something a little bit different. But that was the first one I seen it. It was on before Arlette's show, so I can tell they kind of took that model and created it. They're the ones, how some people can take something and then they grab onto it and it becomes like viral. That's pretty much what they did. So it was already existing, actually. They wasn't the first to do it. It was already existing. They just upgraded it, okay? And made it what it is today. And that's when you got all the other shows after them. They made it extremely popular. They went viral and this, that, and other, but they were not the first because the one I watched, the very first one I watched it like a couple times, and this was one of the countries in Africa. I can't remember what country it is, and it was a lady host. And when I tell you they were dogging each other out, I was listening to it, I was like, I can't do this. I was like, this is too much. Like, I'm like, they that brutal in Africa? I was like, oh no, so it was too much. They were definitely talking about what side of town they were from. Now, I've never visited Africa yet, but you could tell they were like digging on the country they were from, and if you want to make this amount, like it was very capitalistic type thing, and it was very much talking about what clothes they wear and this, that, and other. It was a turnoff. So, for me, I didn't realize Africa was like, into the capitalism as much as it can be in America. That was just a huge like, oh, Like, yeah, that probably ain't gonna be somewhere I'm gonna want to ever live. but but it was very interesting to see that. And then Arlette came on, so I like Arlette's show, and I actually like a hood one. So judge me all you want. It's the one that's from my hometown, Indianapolis. Pop the Balloon or Find Love. And he actually does a live audience on his, and he is a young man. It's probably more because he's a young guy that took a situation and turned it into and flipped it into. I always like a good story. He flipped it into a show, and now he's hired staff. He's making money. I'm gonna see what his name is because Too Cold. That's his name. Um, and he actually kind of flipped it a little bit where he does live audience. He has a DJ. He's now traveling with his show and so forth. He actually got fired from his job, or he quit, one of the two, and then he started this show that is now took off. And it has like more of our urban folks on there. So Orlette is more of the professional crew, the uppity crew, and then Pop the Balloon of Indianapolis is more of that urban side of us. So I feel like I'm getting both sides of us, which I'm into the everyday people. I don't care too much about like the celebs, to be honest. But I'm into like the majority of people because that's what we have to deal with. We have to deal with the collective energy. Wherever the collective's on, we all have to deal with it. So I like to understand where the collective is. Okay. So now, Arlette show. The one thing I can say about this, and y'all can probably get on me a little bit. Okay. I noticed that I have a hard time watching a woman lined up. Now, I can watch the women line up. They're getting better, though. The first time I used to watch the women line up, you could tell we were very much about groupthink, and we were like moving as a collective. Not to say that's a bad thing. It could be a good thing, but this was like, I was like, okay, this is like, you may be missing your potential mate because you're going off of the energy of what she just said, and y'all two completely different women. That was the concern I had for the women's show. And then they were very, a lot of the women were very superficial. The men lineups, you can tell they're not into the group thing, and they were really assessing the women for themselves. And of course, you had men that were just, maybe we're gonna say they're NPCs. I don't know. They was just obnoxious. Of course you have those that get in there. But for the most part, the men would just really use their logic and be their own person when they were looking for the ladies, or they were, talking to the ladies or whatever. But the women would, constantly be on, okay, your shoes ain't right, your clothes, your height, the group thing, the things you hear on social media, the talking points. And I was just like, man, I didn't know it was that bad because, and maybe, I don't know why I don't know that it was this bad. Maybe because I didn't grow up on social media. I'm Gen X or Zillennial, whatever they say, but I claim Gen X. So between baby boomers and millennials, that's the one I claim. But it just seemed that the group think was just taking us out. Like on the popular, I was like, why is the group think taking the women out? I didn't know it was this bad. Like, what is going on? So, but I didn't grow up on social media. So the millennials, did. I raised a millennial, and, I can tell that the social media like really has the way that you guys think sometimes. It be the social media points. And so I'll be like, okay, this is interesting because that's like almost like a what they call it, a social experiment, because programming is a real thing, meaning that your mental is always being programmed. You're always training your subconscious through your music, what you watch, what you see on social media, that type of thing. So if you ever notice people like, well, I only watch cartoons, I only do this, and people like, well, why you don't watch the news? Like, because it's training your subconscious. Like, if you're aware, you're aware. And some people are not. So you could tell that the women are really listening to the talking points on social media, and then they have the group think. And so in some situations that's good, but in a situation where you're actually trying to find your mate, that's not a good thing. You need to be about, I'm on here to find my mate, connect with my love, figure out what is for me. Sis, I love you, but I'm here for this particular purpose. So you done made me pop on my potential husband, mate. Obviously, you're on a show to try to find love. That should be your focus. It was one couple on Ready to Love, and they actually ended up getting married and are still together to this day. And I remember her saying that to all the women on the show. She said, I did not come here to make friends with women. I have my female friends. I came here to find my mate. And I wasn't mad at the girl. She was focused. She was, and that's how women have to, like, really, when you're talking about finding your mate, you need to get focused on that. Okay, and not be so much about groupthink. Certain situations, yeah, be about your sister. Groupthink, of course. But when you're on that mission, like, try to step away from that. And I think the older women definitely do a better job of that and try not to get into that too much. But the younger generations, you can tell the ones that are heavily on social media, that are on the TikTok, on the Instagram, on the what they use today. The watching a lot of the podcasts, even the man. You can hear the man. They're very much into, like, those talking points. Like 6 feet, 6 figures. The what's the other thing you hear? Asset liability. All those things. Simp. Um, all the talking points. If you hear people use those terminologies, a lot of times for people who are not heavy on social media, that's an immediate turn off. Just to be honest. We're like, okay, you don't think for yourself. That's the immediate thing that goes for those of us who don't do social media heavy. And then for those who are on it heavy, you got to be careful. You really need to, I would say, honestly, I'm a big proponent of social media to get shut down. I'm just going to be honest. The bad outweighs the good when it comes to social media, especially when you know about, like, the youth and this, that, and other, and you can tell the group think and this, that, and other, and it's keeping us separate, which has always been the overall arching agenda, but we're keeping this light, so we're not going to get heavy into that. So even if it seems like it's for play, it really is always pushing that one agenda. So that's why I'm all about social media being shut down. We really don't need it, to be honest. Honey, we had millionaires, billionaires. People still have businesses. Everything gonna still function, okay? But the mental part of the social media is not good. So, but we have it, so we gotta deal with it, and we gotta get through this social media thing. But Pop the Balloon is pretty decent for the most part. I do like the show. That's like one of my decompressed shows I watch. Because I don't want to, be all into what I do for a living and all the things I have to be over all the time. So I'll be at to decompress, right? So that's one of my decompress shows. So those two are the two I like. Drop down below in the comments what Pop the Balloons you like. So maybe I may check it out if you found any other good ones. I like, the other one I like, what's his name? Is it Streeter? He wears, like, the wig. It's kind of corny, but I like corny stuff. I'm a blurred, so I kind of like corny stuff. So I think it's his name. Oh, let me try to figure out what this one guy name. I feel like he's out of California. I feel like his name is it Streeter or? Oh, that's gonna bother me because I'm trying to find his. Pop the Balloon with the wig. I'm gonna figure out his name real quick. I'm looking on my computer. It seems like since AI has taken over, Google does not do a good job anymore. Has anybody else noticed that? Google is, like, very. The Last Talk Show. That's what he calls.
I'm gonna give you this designer bag if you can prove to me that you know your finances.
Let's do it.
How many subscriptions do you have?
Is his name. So Pointer is his name. The Last Talk Show is a Pop the Balloon. It's a version of Pop the Balloon, but it's called The Last Talk Show. His name is Pointer. So I kind of like his too because he's a little corny, but I like a little corny stuff sometimes. That's just me. So them are the three that I'll watch when I'm, like, doing my downtime, decompressing, and so forth. So that's my take on Pop the Balloon and Ready to Love. Now let's get into the Tabitha Brown situation. Because a lot of people are asking me, my opinion on this. And really, I didn't have a lot to say because I don't pay attention a lot to celebs, to be honest. And I don't, and I love her journey. Love her journey. No disrespect to her journey. No disrespect to who she is. And even what she said, I honestly think she was trying to talk to somebody she knows personally, not really to everybody. But she's a person that always gives out messages. I don't follow her heavily, but I know her journey, if that makes sense. And the reason why I think a lot of people ask me how I felt about it was because I'm in that space. I built organizations to help entrepreneurs, especially Black entrepreneurs, and that's what I do. So I can really talk about this. And I've been in corporate America, so I can talk about from the job side of it to the entrepreneur side of it to the hustle side of it to the business side of it, to all the things. Okay, so I think that's why people kind of want to know my opinion. And this kind of goes into the Black women overworking. Okay. I think she had a message, but it was tone deaf. Because if you understand what is happening right now in our society as a global society, it is a major global shift happening. If you've been following me, if you've been on my YouTube, I've been telling you guys about it because I want to try to get as many prepared as possible. A lot of people are going to be in shock, okay? About all the changes that are happening. And so in her theory, which she would be removed. So I always talk to people about once people hit certain levels, they are kind of twice removed from certain things. They're no longer in the struggle, so to say, or the hustle. So they're not really aware of what the job market is, what is truly happening for the everyday common person. So that's why I said it was more tone deaf to anything, but I think it was well meaning. And even depending upon people's perspective and what they've experienced in life and how they have handled and managed things in their minds, people still say that because in probably when she was around, it was easy to get jobs. She's not aware that people have been looking for jobs for 6 months to a year now, and the job market is not the same. And this is before even the current administration. Also, we got artificial intelligence that is being ramped up in all corporations and every single industry and so forth. And so that's going to hurt the job market. And it's September. Everybody knows September is layoff season. So it was a tone deaf message right now. That's the main thing I say about it. And then I think she's a little bit removed from what's really going on. And she has to keep in mind that the people she's talking to is her clients and her customers. So these are people who may have you're still in their budget. So you got to be careful about what you're saying, when times are getting tough. So I think that is where a lot of it's coming from. And I think she sent out another message. Like I said, I don't really follow her, but I kind of seen somebody, I think, post, and she just kind of said something. I was not saying not to give up on your dream. I wasn't saying that. I wasn't saying this. I was saying you should, work while you're going towards your dream. Okay, so I think she's trying to clear it up because she realized she got a real negative reaction. But again, I'm like, she was just tone deaf at the time. So that's more of her issue. Okay. Now, I think this goes into the conversation of Black women being overworked, especially in the Western world, especially in the U.S. Now, we know we have 300,000 Black women who have been laid off this year. We're in this is why I studied artificial intelligence. Now, we got away from the light things, get into a little bit of the heavier stuff, but I'm still going to keep it light, okay? Because, your girl be needing her break. We haven't seen the cuts that we're going to see yet. And I'm going to say that again. We haven't seen the cuts that we're even going to see yet. I'm just going to be honest with you. Because artificial intelligence and you have the downsizing of the government, which is, I know everybody's trying like it's one party or whatever, but obviously it's multiple people who believe the government needs to be downsized. It's just one person that's carrying it out. It's very obvious, okay? So on both sides. Now, it would have happened either now or 4 years from now. And I tell people like to get very upset because that's the person that's orchestrating it all. Well, let me back this up. That's the person making you pay attention to it because it was actually happening under the previous administration. Just people, if you're not in that space, you wouldn't realize what is happening. Okay, that's what I'll tell you. So that was obvious that the downsizing was coming. All the things were getting overturned in the previous administration. It was happening through the courts, and nobody on either side was saying anything about it. But because I'm in that space, I was seeing the things getting overturned. Okay, so I was like, oh, this is about to go down in America. Like, this is about to get real. And no one's really saying anything. So obviously everybody's with it. Our current leaders and stuff. So, which again is it's not shocking to me, but I think it's gonna be shocking to a lot of people because I'm in a space where I have to pay attention to this stuff. That is my objective, what I'm doing, my mission in life, these type of things, even though I'm transitioning myself. But currently, those are things I have to be aware of. So I'm a bit more aware of things than most people are. And now it's in people's face. You can't ignore it. You're feeling the cost of living rising to unbearable rates, but it's been rising for 30 years. Wages have not kept up with the price of cost of living. And this brings me to the subject of America's foundation has always been cracked. We never figured out how to quite get to a country. And a lot of us black women, I'm talking from a black woman perspective because I'm a black woman. I can't speak from a black man. This is no disrespect to you. I just can't speak for you. I'm not a black man. Have held up a lot of things, and we're holding up a lot of things that actually need to go away. So if you don't know by now, I'm definitely spiritual. Nobody knows what's going to happen, but it's very clear that we're going through a major shift. Okay, which means anything is possible. Revolutions, war, second civil rights coming, restructuring of governments. You see Nepal, you see the other things that are happening. But for me, talking from a place where I live in the U.S., black women are very instrumental to a lot of spaces and a lot of things. And spiritually, I think we're going to have to learn how to rest and sit back because this system has to be dealt with. So it's very difficult to see something that you're so used to so fall apart or be put on a way to go away, so to say. And if you're not tapped in, you would be unaware of what's happening, right? Even if whatever faith you're in, whatever type of religion you're in, etc. If your faith leader is not saying has not been talking about this for the last 5 years, I suggest you start following somebody else. That's just my opinion, because it was very clear in Advocate what was happening during the pandemic and what we were getting ready to go through. And so anybody that's truly tapped into source, God, Jesus, whatever you believe in, Allah, etc., because I don't push my personal beliefs on anybody, would be telling their flock or their people, the people that are sitting here hearing them, to prepare. Okay? And they wouldn't be fear-mongering them. They would just be like, it's time to prepare. This is what we're getting ready to experience. You need to be prepared. However you can prepare. And I've went through all that before. I'm not going to cover that in this live. I've said whatever level you at, it is a way you can prepare. I don't care if you're working poor, if you're middle class, if you this. It is certain things you can do to be prepared. Okay? And so that should be the message. If you're not hearing that message, then yeah, that's my suggestion. I'm going to be honest with you. And they should be telling you have to tap in and you have to have a stronger relationship to that source that you believe in, because you're going to have to become over your heka, in your spiritual life. That's going to be very important, so that you can, just go through the times that we're going through and understand how to ground yourself, understand how to pray, meditate, whatever you believe in for yourself. You can't be waiting for somebody outside of you to teach you this or to be there to give that to you, because there's going to be so many changes. You're going to have to know how to do it directly for yourself. That's what the spiritual teachers should really be teaching right now, because your goal, if you're over anybody, whether it's spiritual leadership, etc., is for you to make sure that they can operate without you, okay? That they can truly be self-sufficient, understand the community part of it, understand the team part of it, understand the spiritual community of it all, the religious community of it all, the church of it all. But also your flock should be able to go out into the world and do and be okay if they can't reach you, right? Because if you're truly a leader, you're more likely gonna get called to handle some stuff in this time. I'm just gonna be honest with you. So you may not be readily available. So you should be teaching your folks how to be okay, right? But that's just my thoughts on it, and some people are very much energy vampires. So you got to be careful of who you under, and they're very much of, you can only come to me to get this. I'm the only one that can pray over you. I'm the only one that can save you. Yeah, you're hearing those things still. They're still in the manipulation phase of it all, but we're gonna get into all that today. And so they can't help it. That's the structure that was created, that was hijacked. Religion was definitely hijacked, to control people. So we don't get into that today. But Black women, I think, is really a time that you need to rest. And you got to figure out how to rest. I think spiritually, we are being called to rest, to sit back, allow things to crumble, because this structure is so anti-healthy human being. And it's going to take a while for Americans to understand what's really going on and to get to a level of, we need to change so that our country is okay, because they're so programmed, so built into the caste system, the racism, the inequality, the I'm better than you, whatever it is, the hyper individualism, those type of things. It's going to take a lot for a lot of people to get out of that. Not everybody has to get out of it for us to make significant change, but a good percentage of us have to, so we can start making some significant change. But in this time right now, while that's rising up, as you can see, things are constantly happening to push the button, so to say. I think it's the time to rest, and you're gonna know when it's time to be called to move, right? So that it can then be where you do begin to, whatever that may be. Some of us will stay, some of us will leave, some of us will be bridge builders, some of us will be community builders, and so forth. But right now, you're getting repositioned. It can be tough, because if you're holding on to what's dying, it's going to be tough for you to reposition yourself, because you didn't realize this was dying, and it was really time for you to start repositioning yourself too. Anyway, so that is the thing that's very difficult, right? It's easier said than done, because you're seeing what your world to be to fall apart. And when people talk about the great divide and where the old world is dying, the new world is coming, this is what they're talking about. You're making it more spiritual, but put it into the 3D form, into the physical form, and you'll understand what's happening. Okay. And all of us are shifting, including me. Like, it's not even like I'm not going through the things that you're experiencing. I got loved ones going through it. I got myself going through it. I'm just telling you what it is, and some people are going to hold on to dear life for what is dying. They're okay in it. So they're gonna disassociate from the majority of people that they're gonna be seeing, like, really dealing with stuff. And because we are, at the end of the day, the mothers of the earth, we're here to protect the planet. At the end of the day, that's our job as Black women. We're going to be called to do that. We're going to be called to whatever our role is. Some of us are going to be leaders. Some of us are going to be healers. Some of us are going to have to protect the earth. Some of us are going to be supposed to be having farms and feeding the people and building the crops and this, that, and other. And some of us are gonna have to protect those women that are doing it. Like it's gonna be so many different things, and the shift is gonna be so real, and it's not gonna be like it is now, where I think I was just reading something, and no, I think it was a message that popped up on one of my apps, and it was just talking about people are gonna have to learn their value from other things. Meaning, like, you were in a society that the value was, how much money do I have? How much money do I spend to live? That's my value. My title is my value. Now you're gonna really go through learning that your value is other things. Like, who you are truly as a person. Are you really about people? Because we're in the age of Aquarius. Age of Pisces is over with. Pisces was illusion. We were all in a dream state. We were all delusional. Notice how it's an anti-woke movement, because they know the age of Aquarius is upon us. That means people have to now be aware of what's happening. What was acceptable 10 years ago or 20 years ago is no longer acceptable today. People's like, well, if I was when I was a comedian coming up, we were able to say all this, we were able to do all that. We can't do that anymore. It's no longer acceptable. You're absolutely right, because we're in a different age now. That's why it's changing. So that is just all that's happening, but I'm saying it in simple terms, and and also keeping it very light, right now, but we will be getting heavy into this. I finally got my Patreon up, honey, so you can join my Patreon. I'm be doing some master classes. I'm going to be teaching some things there, and we're going to get into the real deep conversations on my Patreon. I set it up, and then they didn't even want to let me set it up, honey. So it's about to be legit, okay? I had to fight with the people to get my Patreon up. But I'll say that Black women, right now is your time to rest. Go watch my video on going through a major life transition. I have a book that I'll be releasing soon about going through a transition for me experiencing a total loss fire. But really, it is your time now to get prepared for the shift, rest, let go of the things you no longer need. Because it's all things. You can get it all back. And you will. I'm just gonna be honest with you. And really focus on you being healthy, your mental being good. Watch my video. It goes through the steps on going through a life transition. It talks about understanding what your bare minimum is to make, understand what is your joy, how to continue to live, how to continue to focus on your health, cut out things you no longer need, really do what you need to do for you. And some people will never come back, because you're not supposed to. You're supposed to be shifting. It's a global shift. I'm gonna keep reminding y'all this. The old is dying. It is time for us to shift. Okay? So you gotta let go of what it used to be. Things ain't gonna look the same. It ain't gonna be the same. It ain't supposed to stay the same, because stuff is all jacked up. People are like, it's bad, y'all. This ain't good. It's not good. It's too many people dying, and have been for a very long time. If you believe in God, if you believe in source, you have to know that there was no way this was going to continue the way it was. If you really connected, there's no way that you can have the generations under you come in and can't even afford houses, and you think that this was going to continue to be able to be. Y'all, come on now. And can't afford food and can't move out the house. It ain't that they ain't working. It's that the cost of living, especially in the Western world, is not just the U.S. going through it. It's the UK. Start paying attention to global information. Start paying attention to global news. This is very important. Stop letting yourself just be in the U.S. bubble. Then you'll get a bigger picture of what's really happening right now. And all the Western world countries that are heavy on inequality are getting their butts handed to them right now. All the countries are going through a shift, because every single country has to deal with whatever foundational issues they have not addressed. America's going to have the toughest, and the UK because we have some of the most deep rooted ones and we have not addressed it. People have been okay through it, so they've been surviving through it, but nobody has really addressed it. So this is why ours is going to be like, you know, people feel like the world is ending, but it ain't really ending. It's really the world as you know it is ending. Okay, you haven't tapped in yet. We may be in the last days. Last days may be a thousand more years. You ain't gonna be around, boo boo. Okay, you won't be around in this form anyway. So just know that it ain't about the end of your lifetime. That's what I'm telling you. So you're here to really help people transition through it and or get yourself through it or get your family through it. You may not even be assigned to nobody else. But right now is the time that you are being shifted if you didn't already start shifting. So you have to be prepared for those shifts and just, handle it the best way you can. Try not to freak out, but process your emotions, go through the changes, etc. Hopefully you have a good support system. I did a whole thing about support system, and maybe I'll do a live on that if I'm on that today, because I want people to start thinking support systems of just one other person. It doesn't have to be a full fledged group of people. It'll be one person you can depend on. It could be two people you depend on. It could be three people. It could be your mate. All of us are not. I mean, it's not enough men on the planet for the women. So everybody's like, everybody should be married. See, I'm like, y'all, the numbers don't even add up. Stop that, okay? But everybody should have support. So that's just where I'm at. Just wanted to have this conversation with you guys today. My phone been ringing off the hook, so I guess I call people back. But I took a moment, and yes. This is important because if you follow me on anything and you know what I do and so forth, and I think people think that's all I do is work all the time. I was like, y'all, when I left corporate, that was one thing I gave up, was working like a dog. So I do not do things that I know is going to cause me to. I have moments where I have to work late and this, that, and the other, etc. But for the most part, my schedule is pretty signal, right? Pretty much. Yeah, everybody keep texting me. I'm sorry. It's pretty much standard. It's pretty much standard through the week, except for like when I have big stuff I have to do, right? Of course, but that's to be expected, especially in America where we're still a very much overwork culture, overwork society. We never really let go of the slave class. It just end up being low worker class. That's all that happened. They went from having slaves that they didn't pay for the labor to now we'll have slaves that we pay low wages to. That's all that happened. And it's all cultures are in it, but black people have always been the blunt of it the most. That's why I stand for black people. If it was another culture, I would be the person this lifetime to stand for that particular culture, but we are the ones that get it the most. So because we're, get attacked from all sides for some strange reason. But to say all this to say, I traveled. I'm just messing with my hair. I may go to regular braids. I traveled, to be with family, and then I got back and pretty late. I did a red eye, and I had to get to my home, like my city I currently live in, which was like 2.5 hours from the airport I was at. But I usually don't do that. I normally stay in the airport that I'm where I'm from. But I booked my ticket. It was my fault. I booked my ticket too late, so that was my error. But it wasn't a big deal. But I was just tired. I had a lot of meetings like that day when I got back. So I got back like at 3, but that day I had a full day. I was like, I'm exhausted. Like I was just like, I gotta get rest. I can't push myself. And when you're there. And this is for men, women, whoever. Stop pushing yourself. Stop being like, I have to get this done. If it's not absolutely necessary, figure out how do you take a day. Figure out how do you move your meetings to the next day. How do you get the rest you need for your body? Because there's so many people that are dying of heart attacks. And right now, that are so young, way younger than me. They're in your early 40s, your late 30s. And it's because you're pushing yourself. And we're moving from, remember, I just told you, we're moving ages. So what your body used to do in the delusion age, is not what your body's supposed to do in the new age. We are like, people are saying, like, people who are not understanding what's going on, these are things you hear from them. People don't want to work anymore. People don't want to do this anymore. People don't want to do that, this and another. I'm like, no, we're not supposed to be overworked anymore. People are being forced to now get to balance. They are being forced to now truly living like, okay, so you hear other countries have really figured out where they have 4-day work weeks for their families. They have paid leaves for like months. They have this. The U.S. is behind in those things. So if you're in the U.S., you're still very much in an overworked society. So that this society has to now deal with that. That is what's happening. And so what's happening too at the same time is the people are rejecting, your body is rejecting being overworked. So this is why I'm telling you, you have to understand we're transitioning from the old world to the new world. So start listening to your body. Your body is cluing you in to where, well, yes, even 5 years ago, before the pandemic, I was able to do all that. That was a factual thing. But we're at the energy we're in now, you're not going to be able to do it. And if you don't really listen to your body is transitioning, your body will give out on you. And that's what's happening. You've seen it. You've seen the young lady, and I don't know where she had, somewhere in Texas, the chef, and she was like, I was so tired and no one was helping me. And she went and lay down and didn't wake up. I seen another young lady, she has a whole thing in her heart because she was overworking and doing for everybody. Everybody's pulling her and no one's stopping to help her. I seen another young lady, I think they said she committed suicide. I don't even know. I'm just like, whoa, these are young people. That's not good, y'all. Your bodies is telling you we have to shift. It's hard because you're used to like the overworking and over hustling, having the 5 jobs, having the 15 businesses, doing this, doing that, not getting no sleep, not getting no rest, not eating properly, not walking, not going outside, getting air, not grounding yourself. You're used to all those things. But I'm telling you, your body is rejecting it because it has to now. So you have to stop. So I'm saying this to say, you know how much I have going on. And I just told you what I just did because I knew my body was tired. So you have to learn how to do the same thing. Okay? This is very important and very critical that you get in tune with yourself. Notice I said that. That's very important right now. And it's going to be a lot of shocking things that's happening. Like I'm getting a lot of text messages because something just happened in the U.S., and this is a time you're going to have to ground yourself. You're going to have to learn how to get out of the chaos and stay calm and handle your stuff that's in front of you. It's going to be difficult for a lot of people because we're so used to being in the no, right? You're going to have to learn how to take time off social media, take time off the phones, get off the screens. You're hearing all this, but it's a reason why people are telling you this. We want you here. We want you living through the transition. That's what I'll tell you. My phone's about to die, actually, because it's like I've been talking longer than I wanted to, and it's a lot of people trying to reach out to me. So let me go charge my phone. But I hope this message just reached you well, and I hope you had a little fun in the beginning, and we got a little deep in the end, which I know how I do. So I'll talk to you guys later. Have a blessed one.